Dr. Kennedy Graham, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to pick up and give a split call, pick up seamlessly where the Honourable Phil Goff left off, and reaffirm that the Green Party will be supporting this bill for the reasons essentially outlined by my colleague Eugenie Sage. The only critical issue here is the process by which the bill has worked its tortuous way through the New Zealand Parliament to the third reading today. It has taken a very long time indeed. New Zealand Labour colleague David Cunliffe said that it was 10 years. I think New Zealand First seemed to think it was 6 years. I can add value to this debate by having checked and say that it was introduced onto the order paper in July 08. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I can confirm what you are conveying with such grace and eloquence to the New Zealand public. I can confirm that it was 7 years and 2 months since it's been on the order paper. So now that we've cleared that up, we can acknowledge that all parties, I think, are supporting it with one exception, and that is New Zealand First. And I tried to fathom the reasons why they would be opposing it, and I gather that the reasons are that the bill is, quote, old and irrelevant, and that therefore the only sane approach would be to oppose it. So picking up on sanity as the principal criterion for whether to oppose or not oppose a bill, it's not a bad criterion to use, I suppose, we would question whether, if a bill is very old, whether in fact that is a sane reason to oppose it. And on that, we find that the reasons, or one of the principal reasons why it was deferred, is because of the difficulties that arose with regard to the way in which the legislation would apply to the land issue in Opua, as Eugenie Sage has said. And that apparently seems to have been the misfortune of the minister at the time in seeking to essentially privatise a particular aspect of a public land. And just to quote, I think that that particular issue is best summed up by my colleague David Clendon. It's worth quoting. The extraordinary thing, he said, is that it took so long for the minister to see that the proposed easement would have effectively privatised part of a public reserve. While it's a small area, the precedent it set could have created real difficulties for protecting larger sites in the public domain. And I think, as he said, sanity finally prevailed and those clauses were withdrawn. Those are the kinds of reasons why bills are held up unnecessarily. But that's not a sufficient reason to oppose it, and of course there are other clauses in the bill applying to other areas of land as well. Whether it's irrelevant, that would be a reason to oppose. But it is very clear, listening to government explanation of the bill and Labor's comments on it, it is not irrelevant. It is highly relevant. It is necessary. And so, therefore, the Green Party is very happy to support it. Thank you.
Tim McIndoe.
Well, Mr.